Okay, this might be live. My excuse right now is that hey, I think we're live. Hello, everybody. Um, so we're gonna hang out here, and while we wait for people to come in, if you're here, I can't tell who is watching. I can only see comments that come in. Um, so I hope people are tuning in. I don't want to front load with too much information before we start. I'm looking over. Do you see the video on there? We'll see. Could say John's looking at the page to see if um, it says that it's live. I guess. Oh, hey, this is great. Okay, so you might have to click around. All right, turn that off. John's looking over at it, and I'm looking, and it's weird. Um, so hello, volunteers. Welcome to the social distancing edition of the community volunteer meeting for the Kinetic Grand Championship that we don't know is going to happen this year or not. To start out, um, I've got a link on the page on the, it should be in the description of the video here, a link to a all-in-one Google Sheet that has this is the document that I use. I've got a copy of it up here that's open for commenting, so if people have questions about things going on there. Right now, I don't have the uh, sorry, I don't have the times or site leaders in right now, just because there's so many things in flux and there are people that we're talking to. So if it's blank, please don't panic. That is still happening. Well, at this point, if there's information that's not in there that looks like it should be in there, that might be for privacy, and it might be just because we haven't firmed everything up yet. So I can share my screen, and I can show you what that looks like. So I think, I don't know, can you, John, raise your hand if you can hear me? Yeah, okay. So if you can still hear me while I'm sharing the screen up here, this is where I've got the list, we've got the site, kind of what we're doing there, the arrival time, the closing time. If there's a ham there, one of our radio folks, water information, how many flats. Right now I just have yes and no. We need to look back through our notes to see how many cases of water need to go to those different locations. What the major tasks for ground pounders there are, and the number of ground pounders required, and some notes about that. All of our all hands required volunteer meetings are bold and in purple with where they will be for the day. So I'm just going to scroll through here real fast. This is not so that you can copy information down, but for folks who are looking at this. The very, very important thing is to look at the version in the top corner. I always will have the version number and the date and timestamp so that it's clear to me to see what's going on. This is a document that is living pretty much right up until the night before the rose, and then we will excuse me, and then we'll I build my lists of who's volunteering what when, the list of for each day, the assignment sheets that I use. All right, I'm going to go back to, I'm going to stop screen sharing. Hello, everybody. So We're just gonna chill. John, can you see how many people are watching? Oh, got a few people watching. Hi, friends. Or friend. I don't know how many people are watching this going live. So I kind of feel a little bit like those old movies of like, let's go in our backyard and put on a show. Hey, everybody. Which is kind of what kinetics is. It's kind of, let's get together and make this happen. We all have the skills. Let's go. Great. Okay, so again, a welcome to folks joining in. In the description of the video, there's a link to a Google Doc, and I'll share that again real quick. Let me get to where it goes. So when you look at the Google Doc, this is just where everything is. If you have questions about specific things, you can comment by commenting down here. I'll also get a notification of a comment, so it's not like shouting into the void, which so many things seem to be these days. All right, so I want to look at my notes right now. The biggest question right now is the race happening? We don't know. Because the race occurs mid-May, the Rutabaga Ball occurs mid-May, and the race occurs at the end of May, that is far enough away from right now that it's outside the timeline of when a lot of people are making predictions and making recommendations for how long the social distancing measures and the shelter-in-place measures should be in place. Because it's so far away and we don't have good information, and because everything changes so quickly, the board of Kinetic Universe will be getting together at the end of March and making a determination. At that point, our determination could be wait and see and make a determination later on. We could make a decision to make a decision later. We could make a decision to keep the race going until we're told not to. We could make a decision to cancel the race. And yeah, those are kind of the possibilities that we're looking at. And it's not ideal. None of this is ideal. Okay. So on that note, I hope that everyone is able to take the measures that they can to keep themselves safe and healthy. I personally have been going into work before sunrise and picking up a packet and bringing it home and working on it furiously, which is, I've always wanted to work from home. Not like this. This is not my favorite. No, thank you. But for folks who are experiencing hardship because of the shelter-in-place orders, I know that there's some different resources for people. Personally, I work in the HR world, so after this, if people have questions about some of the different things coming from the state and from the feds, I personally might be able to assist you with that. If you go to my Facebook page and message me personally, not the Kinetic Volunteers, but message me as Suzanne Ross Mantle, I might be able to help show you what's going on. This is such a drastic turn of events from where we were in January and from where we were in February. It's all real quick, and it can be a lot to process for people, especially those of us who are considered high risk. That's me. I'm high risk. I have a pre-existing health condition that makes me high risk for a severe case of COVID-19 if I were to contract it. So as we're processing and as we're finding ways of keeping ourselves, keeping our loved ones safe, I know there's a lot happening here, but we can be kind and share our resources. So I have information just about what the state's doing and what the feds are in the middle of doing. Like I woke up on Wednesday morning and had a whole bunch of reading and a whole bunch of webinars to go to for work just to educate myself. So that being said, we don't know. But between knowing and now, or between now and when we will know, we have to assume that we will go forward and have the race. We have to assume that it's going to be better until we're told that it's not. We have to do the work. The boards are going to be doing the work to make it go until we make the decision not to. Okay, so I want to find my handy dandy pen and go through my list of information here. Some things I want to talk about specifically, ways to contact me. I have my Kinetic message phone. I'll receive voicemails, I'll receive texts there if it's not something that I'm monitoring during the day. So if you call, I won't pick up and you can't have a live conversation with me, but you can always send me a message or a text through there to and I can get in touch with you. That phone number, which is on the emails and on the website, is 707-733-7841. Again, that's on the emails, it's on the website. Yep. The website, the Kinetic Volunteers website, I'll go ahead and share that with you now. So this is our Kinetic Volunteer website, and there's blog posts. I try to keep up with it. I'm really bad at social media, guys. I am so sorry. The website, we also have our calendar here. There's a widget which is broken. So there will be a fixed widget here. Oh my goodness. So we have the website. We have I have that phone, my emails changing. I won't get into the details, but we are in the middle of upgrading to another email group. We're trying to make it like real, like an actual organization. And there's some hiccups with that. So I have to update what's on the website. So if you send an email to the volunteers at kineticuniverse.com, I may not get it for a couple days. So please use the Gmail kinetic.volunteers@gmail.com, and I'll be updating the website after this. So now if we can look at that Google Sheet, I'm going to share the screen, and so we can go through that bit by bit. Here's the meat and the potatoes of our meeting today. Nope, that's not what I want to do. Wrong screen, guys. This is not going to help you at all. Maybe. Share a different screen. This is what I want. There we go. Okay. All right, friends. So this year, the race is scheduled to be the earliest that it's been in a very long time. Memorial Day weekend is May 23rd, 24th, and 25th. which puts the Rutabaga Ball the weekend before. I think it's the 16th. My actual calendar, yes, it's the 16th. The Rutabaga Ball is the 16th. I do have scheduled, it's not sharing. Is it not sharing? That's so weird. Okay. Well, maybe it is. All right. So I'm sorry. I may have got caught up with John's doing stuff. So here we go. It's really, I'm sorry. This is the first time I've done this. I'm not very good at it. I prefer the background stuff. So thank you all for bearing with me. This is kind of bumpy. So if you can't see the screen that I'm sharing, it says that it's being shared. So, all right. Oh, we can't see the screen. All right, let me stop sharing again. All right, let me try this again. We're gonna do another one. That's the link. Okay. So let me see if I can't share this one. Great. And we're gonna see if that comes through because there's like a 20-second delay between me talking. All right. Can you go to the, let's see. All right. So it says this tab is being shared. If I look on my side from what I see, it looks like it's being shared. So if you can't see this file, please go to the link in the description and pull up the file, the shared Google Doc. So we'll hang out, we'll let people find the Google Doc. This is something that's protected. So if you get to it via that link, then you are all set and you can comment on any cell. So let's see. All right, we're just going to go through this. I think that was enough time for people to take a look, click the link, get back to that tab. So while we're looking at this, I'm just going to go through the sites one by one. John is helping and monitoring the comments. So if while I'm looking at this screen of the tab, I can't see any comments coming through. So it might take a moment if you have a question about any location. All right. So Arcata Plaza. We are going to be doing the no parking signs on the Arcata Plaza on the Friday before. It's a little cold in here, so pardon me. And all right, my hand sanitizer from Bubbles. So Arcata Plaza, we're going to be doing the no parking signs. Last year, I believe we put out the cones. We put them up in bars. We put them up everywhere we could. We also have to make sure that we get the plaza as well as where Farmers Market is going to be over on is it 8 I Street and 9th, 8th and 9th. I have to put up a whole bunch of no parking signs around the, not just the plaza, but all around the plaza for the farmers market. That time is looking like it's going to be the 16th through, the 16th, 4 o'clock through 6 o'clock. That usually, if we have enough people, that can be pounded out pretty quickly. And is fun to do. Man, I wish this was happening. It says that it's being shared. So anyhow, all right. Back to the Arcata Plaza. Arcata Plaza is starts at 6 a.m. So we have that is our team hardcore. They will show up 6 a.m. sometimes before that to close down the streets, put up the snow fencing, put up the water barrels, get all of our infrastructure in place so that we can make sure that we don't have any cars on the plaza. Our goal with the no parking signs is to communicate effectively with people who are there to get their cars moved. We have a goal of towing 0 cars. Sometimes we can meet that goal, sometimes we can't. So that's our main goal there. As time permits, there's also the possibility of putting up no parking signs the Thursday before, but that really depends on what our course coordinator can do. So that's something that's going to be coming down the pike. There's notification about whether or not that time changes. Back to the Arcata Plaza, the morning of Saturday, the 23rd, we will have start at 6 and then the volunteer meeting at 8:30. So between 6 a.m. and 8:30 a.m., we will be putting up the infrastructure for the plaza. This is where one of our heaviest infrastructure sites, because we do have to put up the barricades for the streets, and we have to put up the snow fencing, and we have to put in the water barrels. Excuse me. We'll also be doing registration the day of, and I'm trying to put in registration for the volunteers the Thursday before at the museum. It looks like that's probably only going to be a 2-hour site. Again, if we do our no parking signs for the Arcata Plaza on Thursday, I'll make sure that my timing for that doesn't overlap with the folks who are doing the work. I don't want you to have to do the work and then not be able to pre-register. Pre-registering is really handy because that makes sure that we can get everyone all of their stuff, their volunteer shirts, their laminates, their assignments for at least for day one, or work out the assignments for day one. Sometimes assignments are the things that happen at the meetings because it's such a fluid group of folks who are able to come in. We don't know until the day of where things can go, which is kind of the nature of the beast. So we have our volunteer meeting, then we'll have folks working with Geno to park the machines. We may or may not have to staff that from our ground pounders. That may be something that Geno is able to staff, but we have to be able to absorb that position if that's something that we need to. So then my favorite part of this is honestly the feed off the street. I haven't been able to participate in a long time, but it's the beginning. It's like that's our first major thing. Like, guys, it's actually going to happen. And then we'll be breaking down the plaza. With the plaza, after the volunteer meeting, a lot of people will be going to the community center, the Dead Man's Drop exit, and then also Halverson Park. Excuse me. So that's the plaza. The Manila Community Center, this year, we aren't really changing anything. So if you are a new person coming in, if you have questions, a lot of this is stuff that a lot of people have done for a long time. So there may be a lot of glossing over, like, oh yeah, that's the same as last year, or yeah, this is what we've always done. If you don't know what we've always done, please let me know in the comments if you're confused about what this will look like. One of the things about how this race goes is it's something that you really don't it's hard to conceptualize what it is until you see it. Which, I mean, that's what good art is, right? Something that's hard to predict until you look at it, until you can actually get eyes on it. So, good job, we make good art. So back to day one. After the machine, so I'm going to go through order by race, not order by when staff needs to be there. So first it's the Arcata Plaza, then the machines will go through the bottoms and go down 255 and will end up at the Manila Community Center. From there they'll go to the beach and they'll go down the dunes and through June's Dunes and then to Dead Man's Drop. And then after that, they will come out of Dead Man's Drop at Dead Man's Exit, which is where that trail exits onto 255 which is now, at that point, it's called New Navy Base Road. If you're Googling it, it's New Navy Base Road at Samoa. What's the name of it? Samoa. I think it's Samoa. It's New Navy Base Road. I used to live out there and now I don't remember the names. It might be Cookhouse Road. I'm not sure.
The exit.
It's anyhow. It's so they'll come out onto 255 and then they'll cross the bridges and end up in Halverson Park in Eureka. Halverson Park, for those who aren't sure of where that is or don't know where that is, that's the big green space by the amphitheater, by the Adorni Center, next door to underneath the Samoa bridges. So it's City of Eureka Park, and we will have fencing up and we'll have all of our machines rolling in. That's our finish line for day one. That's also a beer garden. So we will have beer pouring, we will have a sales booth, we'll have our merch set up there. Merch will be at the plaza, and merch will also be at Halverson Park that day. So it's a full day for the merch folks. So we'll end at Halverson Park and we will have, that's where the machines will camp out overnight. And some of the racers will also camp out overnight. One of the ACE rules is that you always have to be within spitting distance of your machine. So racers who are acing will camp with their machine. Okay, all right, I'm going to pause to have a drink of water and use the tissue to itch my nose, and I'm not touching the face. And when oh man, I was watching one of our sheriff on one of the one of the press conferences, and he couldn't stop touching his face, and I was giggling about it. And then now, as soon as I'm on live, I always have to itch my nose now, it seems like. So practicing good I guess measures stuff. I don't know. Okay, so back to it. We just ended day one at Halverson Park and going back through the race. Our volunteer meeting for day two. Okay, gosh, talking about my nose itching and now it's just itching all over the place. Blah. Using a tissue, sanitizing my hands. Okay, such exciting stuff, I know. All right, guys, thank you so much for bearing with me. This is not how I want to have a meeting, but I want to make sure that we can keep ourselves safe, keep the people we love safe, keep the people that we're kind of like, oh, I don't know, got to keep them safe too. Because how can you have an epic adversarial storyline if you don't have any adversaries? I mean, come on, guys. All right. So, volunteer meeting on day two. This year, the low tide is at like 9 o'clock in the morning or 8 o'clock in the morning. I don't remember, the tide tables are available. If you're watching this, you can Google the tide tables, but it's the bad way this year. So we're going in at Wharfinger, and we're exiting at Samoa Bridges. That's one of the more challenging ways that we have to do this, because we have a smaller area for the machines to be. We have a smaller area for spectators. We have a smaller area for boats to also launch. So it's one of the more challenging setups that we have. This year, it's not a negative tide. The low tide isn't a negative tide, which is real handy. So hopefully we won't have people stuck in the mud, but we do have to start a little bit later in the day. I do have on that sheet our approximate start time that's still being hammered out. So we're starting approximately at 10 a.m. Just to give us enough time to get in to the water, make sure we don't have anyone stuck in there while the tide's rising. That's the low tide, for anyone who's familiar with tides and how they work. If you're not, go look at a tide table and look at that wave of the tides. So you'll see what we're talking about when there's a low tide, a high low tide, a low high tide, and a high tide. There's got to be a limerick in there somewhere. 10 points to someone writing a limerick about all the different types of tides. All right. So our volunteer meeting is going to be at 8 a.m. this year. I am so sorry. With a start time of 10 a.m. and especially because we're at the Wharfinger and it is tighter, we got to make sure that we're in there and able to set ourselves up in such a way that we get there before the spectators are. That's kind of the biggest thing, is if we can get into these spaces before the spectators are in there, then that's going to really help us out. All right, I'm going to pause real quick. I see there's a question about site leaders, so let me go back and take a look at the comments. Is there a site leader list? There is one that's being built. I don't have it published on this sheet right now just because there are things in flux. So this will be, it will be coming out, but because it's not verified, I don't want to publish it yet, just so we don't have confusion about that. If you're interested in being a site leader, and it's not a conversation that we have had, please let me know. Message me. You could message me through the volunteer coordinator or the volunteer Kinetic Volunteers page. You can message me through my personal Facebook page. You can email me through, well, right now, don't email me at the website right now, because I need to update that, because I made a very silly mistake and now I'm locked out of an email account for a couple days. But you can email me at kinetics.volunteers. Wrong, don't listen to that. You can email me at kinetic.volunteers@gmail.com, and I did send out an email to everybody there. So if you're watching this and you didn't get an email this morning, please send me a message and let me know. Again, the contact information, the best contact information or way to contact me is through kinetic.volunteers@gmail.com, or through that hotline, or I'm sorry, the message phone, 707-733-7841, and also on this Facebook page. So site leaders, that's something that's being worked on. Again, if you're interested, let me know. If you are watching this and you have not gotten an email from me this morning, please shoot me a message. Um, I can say that by 3 p.m. today, I will have fixed the email on the website to go to the email that I can get into. Oh, man, I feel so. Mm, it was a very, very silly mistake, and I'm paying for it, and it's not fun, guys. All right. So, water break. Man. Okay. All right. Let me see if I can share that screen again. Okay. It says it's sharing. On my side, I see that it's sharing. So who knows? Maybe the video that it records will have this shared with it or not. From what I can see on John's feed, it's not sharing. So, okay, get back into it. Day 2. If you don't see this, the spreadsheet that I've shared, again, it's in the description for the video. It's in the comments. John shared that link again in the comments. If you scroll around, that's available. So it's a Google Doc spreadsheet. If you're not familiar with Google Docs, this is pretty awesome, but it acts a whole lot like Excel. And to make a comment, if you right click on a cell and scroll down, once that menu pops up to comment, you should be able to make a comment. And if you have a specific question, this is a good way of sending that in here. If you make a comment, I'll get a notification to actually a couple different places, so it won't get lost. Please know that that's a good way of making asking specific questions or pointing out information or pointing out a question to a specific detail. Okay, so are we ready for day 2? I say we are, because I can't hear you. So again, we're going in what all the racers call the bad way. We're going in at Wharfinger around 10 a.m. We're coming out at the Samoa Bridges, and because we're starting at 10 a.m., our all hands volunteer meeting is at Wharfinger Marina at 8 a.m. This is all of the volunteer meetings are all hands unless you've had a specific conversation where I have told you that you are not to go to a volunteer meeting. These are really important places because I may not see everybody by the end of the day. I'm sorry, I just had a thought. I may not see everybody at the end of the day. We may have a checkout, but I want to make sure that if there are problems or if there are things that have changed, I want to make sure to get that information to everybody. And honestly, having something face-to-face is much faster. It's much more reliable. We're in parts of the county where there's not good reception, where there's not good data for those of us who have smartphones. So it's not the best way to do it is to be at those face-to-face meetings. For some of us, it's really, really early and it's difficult to do. So going back to one thing that I just had a thought about, at Halverson Park, I will have the volunteer coordinator's tent set up again. So there'll be space at the Halverson Park to chill, to hang out, and to also give me a debriefing if you ran into complications, if you had problems, if you had issues, if there's something, I'll be available there. I do have a note that I want to speak about, but first I want to get through the rest of the meeting and see how we want to do. So I just want to make a quick note. Watch me make a note. All right. So going back to day 2, I've said this several times, so I'm just going to make sure I can get into that flow again. We've got volunteer meeting at the Halverson Park Wharfinger for the water entry. Start time again is around 10 a.m. We will need most people doing crowd control. I think Shoshana is in again for being that crowd control. She has, for the past couple years, she's had sort of a fairy princess ball gown crowd control, which I think is just the best way to handle it. If you need to be told to go somewhere, I would prefer to be told by a fairy princess in a ball gown, 100%. So I think she's going to be bringing those folks on again this year. But that's something that I need to communicate about, or to verify. So that is only a nasty rumor at this point. Nothing has been confirmed. We will exit at the Samoa Bridge. The Samoa Bridge exit, it tends to be pretty chill. One of the things that we do need to maintain at Wharfinger and Samoa Bridge is we need to make sure that boats can launch. So there's a little bit of coordination going on there. At the Wharfinger, there are 2 boat launch ramps. And what we have done in the past is had one specifically for boats and one specifically for machines. And so that way we don't have to completely get the machines out of line. We just have to make sure that those boats can get there. I just touched my face. All right. I haven't gone anywhere since I've sanitized, so I'm going to save my sanitizer for when I need it. All right. So ENF lunch, that's been a timer location. We haven't need any extra volunteers there, which is good because we need to make sure that we have as many people possible for the for day 2. Day 2 is our longest day. It's our hardest. Sometimes it's the hardest day. I don't know. We could probably get in a fight about which day is harder. Let's see here. So we will start in Eureka. We will end that day in Crab Park. Sorry, just changed. I have to be able to read my laptop screen. So we will start in Eureka. We will go through Eureka. We'll go through Hikshari Trail and the sanctuary. We'll go up to the top of the hill, Lolita Hilltop, and then we will end our day in Crab Park. So we have a lot of places where we need people to be. We typically don't need more than a handful. Once we're out of the water, our biggest push for volunteers is at the water entry, which is where we need more. There's more crowd control needed there, and then it'll filter on through. We will need a number of people at Crab Park. Frank is back as our gatekeeper as long as we have a race. He'll be there. So I'm very excited about that. But we will push through. Sorry, we're going back to the racers race order of locations, not necessarily the order that we need to have people going to these locations. So they'll go in at the Wharfinger building, they'll come out at Samoa Bridge, they'll go to stop. Some machines will time out at ENF for lunch. It is such a late start time that I don't know how many folks are going to choose to go to ENF for lunch. So that might not be a high trafficked area with all the teams. We will have some folks at the Hikshari Trail. I need to go back and review my notes again about the Hikshari Trail from last year, just because it's something that it's kind of new in how we're doing this and how we're handling this. We need to review how many people are there. So right now, I only have 1 or 2 people on that, but honestly, it's something that needs a little bit more attention. So I will review my notes and make sure that that's and update as we need. After the Hikchari Trail, which takes the racers behind the Bayshore Mall, and then they will come out at the Elk River Road overpass. They will come to the brake check, which is at the entrance to the sanctuary, the Humboldt Bay Wildlife Sanctuary. I might have said that wrong. I can't remember the name of it exactly right now at this point. So if that's not correct, if you're not sure what I'm talking about, please leave a comment and John can help clarify. So there, we will have the brake check at the sanctuary. Machines will come from the overpass to Lolita Hill. They'll come through that overpass, have the brake check at the stop of there, so that they can check their brakes. This is a place where folks will grumble, but it's necessary before going down that grade. If it's something where their brakes fail there, they have the ability to fix things. There's plenty of parking for folks' pit crews to come in and work on machines. We typically have a porta potty there. And it's another little spot to hang out and chill if you're between locations. And then at the Lolita Hill top, there is that's the medic dance party. So this is where the medics are. They check people out. I don't remember if it's a mandatory stop for medics to check out or not, but this is where the medics have their water. They have a whole bunch of folks. A lot of the medics are going to be there, so they've called it their dance party. It's pretty cool. They need a couple of people to help with traffic control up at the top of the hill. Excuse me. It is tabletop. Wait, go back to that, please, John. Tabletop Bluff, not Lolita Hill. So I'm going to update this here and update this. I'm going to do that right now. Okay, I want to be careful to use the correct names for things, use the appropriate names for things. So great, that's corrected there. Make a note to correct it in another spot. So if you're looking at that sheet, that's corrected. Okay. Okay, I've got another correction. I will come to that later, so please don't make that one go away. All right. So then the machines come down the tabletop bluff and go through the back end of Lolita down Cannibal Island Road. Cannibal Island Road is so long. It is so long, and when you're driving out there and you're stuck behind a machine, it's a real good time to, I have found for me, to practice my patience. There will be spectators driving out to Crab Park to try to get into Crab Park. That's not something that can happen. So there's, excuse me. It's because I'm on camera, my nose itches. So, in the past years, there have been signs up on Cannibal Island Road telling spectators to turn around, and I have seen that be very successful. I've been behind people who have driven past a sign, like, oh no, you can see the decision making happening, but get it, like when they finally get to one sign that says no, really, it's not going to happen, I've seen them all turn around. So those signs have been really effective for the people who believe what signs tell them. Not everyone does. So once we get out to Crab Park, there's going to be some setup this year. Our what did we call it? Our I have to recall. I'm sorry, my recall is not that great when I'm stressed, apparently. It was the found object organic festive nighttime sculpture. So our found object organic festive nighttime sculpture will be something that is prepared by people on site. So that's something that will need to happen during that. While we're at Crab Park, John Mantle is the site leader of Crab Park this year as course coordinator. So he will be in contact with folks about, or he will have some site things to do, things that will need done as far as clearing that. And we'll come back to when we will be course clearing. So some more information about that coming down the pike as I go through this. I'm looking at the time. It is getting up to 1 o'clock. So because I'm not stopping and we're not having discussions while we're doing this, I do imagine it's going to be a little bit faster. Probably not the whole 2 hours, but please know I want to answer all your questions. So if you have questions coming in, please make a comment. John can look at that. I have to be looking at this spreadsheet so I can not go off of my faulty memory. So course clearing. So my course clearing, I've made a note about that. All right. So coming back, Crab Park. We will come to Crab Park. There's the layout of Crab Park is entirely dependent on what the weather has done and what the farmer wants. So there's no way for us to know that right at this moment. Gate is typically out there at 10 a.m. or earlier. It may be that Frank may need some support in having some more folks at Gate even earlier than that. We will get more information there as we get closer, but we will have some things to set up there. I do need someone who's going to be overnight at Crab Park, just to have a person who is part of the organization who has some authority to say, my dudes, could you please not shoot off fireworks right now? So coming back, that is the end of day 1. All right, day 2. Oh, I have a note that says day 2 p.m. meeting. There's an evening meeting at Crab Park. It's not at 2 p.m. It's at 7 p.m. So we will have the day 2 meeting at 7 o'clock at Gate. All of our Crab Park meetings are going to be at Gate, just so we can make sure that everyone who is working can get that information, and the folks who are, as long as the gate's open, folks have to be working it. So we'll come party with Gate and check it out. And by party, I want to take a moment to say, to speak about what I mean when I say party, and we will come back to that in a moment because I want to get through the rest of the race. So, ending day 2 at Crab Park, and our festive nighttime sculpture will be a little bit more festive after dark. And then day 3. All right, my next day, drink of water. Okay, day 3. So we will start day 3 with a morning volunteer meeting at Gate. This year, the start time for day 3, the Le Mans start all along Cannibal Island Road at the very end of it, is 10:33. So all volunteers who need to be out before the racers should be out by 9:45 before the racer meeting, because it is going to be bonkers before the racer meeting and it's going to be bonkers after. So I would, as you're packing what you're camping with, if you're camping at Crab Park, I'd be mindful of what kind of a setup you have and being able to break it down and get out by 9:45, taking into account that we were going to have at least a half-hour meeting at 8:30. So, uh-oh, Uh-oh, something didn't copy correctly. I see down here. Let me fix this so I can have information. Okay, sorry guys. I gotta look at stuff. Day 3, quarry entrance. I wonder why that didn't go. Ba, ba, ba. Okay. Fun times with data entry. Super exciting. Copy. Come over here. Paste. And I want to make sure. Okay, there we go. Now I have information. Great. Okay, so the quarry entry, because we have our machines are going to be starting at 10:33. We want to make sure that folks are out on the quarry before for the Warswick Bar Eel River entrance. We need to make sure that folks are out there before the racers get out there. We will have the key to the gate, and I believe that we are going to be unlocking that gate that morning, so we shouldn't have the problems of having folks. Oh no, John has information. County will unlock the excuse me, the county of Humboldt will be unlocking the gates, so we don't have control over when that gets locked and when it doesn't. We might see about measures beforehand. All right. Okay. I'm going to take a moment before I really start in on Crab Park. No, go back to your notes. John had some notes up. Looking at Crab Park Gate. So Frank might need a person to be at gate, or like one person to be there earlier than he can get there, but we really need our main push for gate is late into the evening. If you're interested in doing that, that's where we can really really support ourselves, because having gates kind of our best that like that's literally a gatekeeper to our festivities. This is where we're going to have a lot of folks trying to get in. Yes, the locals will get in a different way, and it always happens. It's an outdoor place. We can only limit the people who come in through the gate, but this is where we really need folks to be available. Frank always makes it really hospitable. If you're lucky enough to be up there, he has in the past he's made fresh baked bread. Like, how awesome is that? So it's a great place to be. It's a great place to spend time, and it can be pretty chill. So if you're looking for ways to be useful and ways to really be helpful, that's a really good spot once we get to Crab Park. John has a note. John has a note about bribes. I have specific thoughts about bribes and what volunteers' expectations are for being bribed. So I will come back to that. So many things to come back to. All right, so day 3. We are almost there, guys. We are so close. So we will have our morning volunteer meeting. We still need to be keeping working the gate, because there will be cars trying to come in as the machines are coming through. So we still need to be to have that going. So gate won't be able to leave in the morning. Gate is one of the jobs that pretty much starts the morning of Saturday morning. Excuse me, Sunday morning, and doesn't end till once the machines have gone through. It is the longest position that we can need to have staffed almost continuously. All right, so coming back to this, so we'll have volunteers need to leave crowd if you are staffing something that is for the racers. So this is the quarry entrance, Worswick Bar, Ferndale Water exit. You need to leave by 9:45 a.m. Folks who are working any of the finish line or the awards dinner, um, if you are camping at Crab Park, you can leave after the racers do. Excuse me. Touch my face again. Don't touch your face. Okay. So, gotta love that alcohol smell. Um, okay. I've got a note from Talvi. So just going back to gate before we move on, Talvi said, make sure if you're working gate, we gotta really, really be careful. No, don't go away. So there are folks who want to come in and party. There are drunk drivers coming out. They're like, it's a beacon for anyone who wants to come party. And there are plenty of folks who are like, oh, well, I'm with them or they're my friends. Like if you don't have that wristband, if you don't have the proper credentials, um, then I'm so sorry. You got to turn around, you got to go, you got to find a different party because this is not yours. Um, and that's we can't rely on Frank only to be there. It's too long for one person to be doing it. So we need to support our folks who are interested in coming back and making this happen year after year. Um, so it's to keep ourselves safe and to make sure that we don't make choices that are going to prevent us from being able to come back year after year. We have to make sure that we limit the amount of nonsense that's going on. Sure, the racers bring their own shenanigans. That the racer, I can't just say the racers. Sure, the participants who are supposed to be there bring their own shenanigans, but they bring enough for everybody. We don't need additional shenanigans. All right. Anything else? I think that was pretty much okay. So that's on that note. Before I go back to other notes, we're gonna finish day 3. Finish day 3. So, quarry entrance. I did talk about getting out of Crab Park before the volunteers. John's making. I'm sorry. I'm getting distracted because John's making a note. So we got to get out of the race before the race starts. So that's 9:45 a.m. Again, please, when you are packing what you're doing to camp, if you are camping, please take breakdown time into account, both what you're packing and at what time you plan on going to sleep. So Ferndale, or I'm sorry, the water crossing. So we will have volunteers at the quarry entrance. So there's the entrance right at the gate, right at the road. And then we'll have the actual entrance down to the trail, or 2 places where we've staffed before. And I believe that's been pretty successful. One of the, covered that. One of the challenges with the Worswick Bar, with the water entry site, is we don't have, it is so far, the positions where people are so far away. And I don't remember, I believe we have porta potties at Worswick Bar entry. We have 1 porta potty there. So please be mindful of how far away it is, a camp in and camp out. So there's 1 at entry, 2 miles from the river, about 2 miles from the river. So and there's one or two at the exit. So please be mindful of that if you need to have that. It's one of the Warsack Bar water entry and the quarry entrance. Those can be one of the more grueling because we don't need numbers of people. Um, we need enough to give breaks to everybody, but where we really need a lot of people is the Ferndale water exit or the Fernbridge water exit, because that's where the spectators are, and the spectators get really bonkers there. So, and it's so spread out, it's really, really difficult to keep a good, safe lid on that. So the push for volunteers is going to be on the water exit side, which makes the water entry side a little bit more difficult for the people who are working there. So our goal is to make it as doable as possible. But that's one thing to note. We have to put our volunteers to where we need to make sure that we have the safety of the racers and the safety of the crowds there. We have to maintain that first. So if we are lacking for volunteers, we're going to push it to water entry. I'm sorry, for water exit there. So tell your friends. We need people. Outreach has been a little bit slow now just because of the uncertainty, but if this is going forward, we're going to need a whole lot of folks to make it happen. All right, so that's the Warsack Bar water entry. I hope folks are able to log into this this worksheet here. I don't see that there's anyone else in here, so please click on over to that worksheet, to that Google Sheet. I realize some folks may be watching on their phones and not able to do so. Looking at Google Sheets on your phone is a pain in the neck. So hopefully you can get to a different type of machine where you can access it and take a look there, because there's a lot of really good information. And this is my visual aid, and I really wish that it was casting my screen to that, but it's not, which is a pain in the butt. So maybe I didn't set something up correctly, but I'm going to blame that on being an old mill and move on from there. Okay, water break. So, oh, I know, you can all look in the reflection of my glasses. All right. So, Warsack Bar, Eel River water entrance. Last year, our whether or not we could get into the water was determined by the water levels. So that is another thing, another level of uncertainty we have about how much rain we're going to receive between now and then. We've had a drier January and we've had a drier February. So it's looking like last year could be like a 1 in 5 year event. Excuse me. Could be a 1 in 10 year event. Excuse me. So it's possible that that won't happen again for a while. It's possible that that could be, it could happen again every other year. So knowing that, I'm sorry, what I'm referencing is last year the river was too high and too fast for machines to enter. So we had to go over the Fernbridge. Fernbridge is 110 years old plus. It is tiny and it's very stable, but it's not the safest way of getting machines over that river there, over into Ferndale. So we will have notes on how to make that better, if how to improve our contingency plans, since we had to use our contingency plan last year. But this year we are going under the assumption that yes, we can make the race happen, and yes, we will be going into the river. And we will have the sheriff's posse there to catch anyone going too far downstream, because we don't want to send anyone out and back to Crab Park because that'd be a pain in the neck. All right. So water exit. Water exit is where we have the most people before we get to Ferndale. We will have traffic control, we will have crowd control, and we'll have to have folks doing machine directions. We'll have some human signposts, so folks saying, you know, come this way, because sometimes it's a little bit harder to see how to get that sort of zigzag up from the riverbank up to the route that we need to take. We always lay it out in the turn-by-turn directions, but sometimes having a turn-by-turn direction is a little bit difficult to read. So we'll have a bunch of folks at the water exit. Finish line in Ferndale. The Ferndaliniacs had their second year staffing Ferndale last year. I need to verify with the folks from Ferndale if they are, oh, no, hold up, did I just, let me come back and try this again. Sorry, I just got rid of my thing. Share screen, share screen. Oh, it might have been because I didn't click something, guys. Oh, hold up. Hold up. When I come back. No. Never mind. Nope, there's not another thing I can click. All right. I'm waiting to hear back from the folks in Ferndale to see how they want to go this year. I don't know what the plans are. I imagine that if we are in the position to be having the race at the end of May, there will be a lot of local businesses embracing tourists and embracing people wanting to come in. The shelter-in-place directives will have such an economic impact in our region and in the country that it's really hard to tell what will come in the future. So I can see this, if we're able to go forward, I can see this being a good reason to draw folks to the area and a good reason to come to have it, to, you know, celebrate our freedom. Celebrate being able to get within 6 feet of someone. So here's hoping. So but at the finish line, the places where we really need staffing is putting up the parking signs the day before, excuse me, the no parking signs. Putting up the no parking signs the day before, working with the Ferndale and the parade, and making sure that we're not impeding on their space, because this is their Memorial Day parade, where they do have a parade that ends at the cemetery, and they have a ceremony memorializing those who have fallen in the line of duty for the country. So it's a solemn event for them, and we want to make sure it's a solemn event that occurs in Ferndale, and we want to make sure that our, you know, rolling chaos gives that proper space to breathe, because it's good to have the levity, but not maybe right after all of the solemn memorializing or remembrance. So gotta watch that. So we'll have the no parking signs, we'll have the traffic control. Last year we had the folks from Ferndale parking the machines, and it seemed like that was it was kind of a first pancake of a little bit, but that one is it seems like that's really the way to go with parking our machines in Ferndale. So let me come back over here. I want to make sure that I'm seeing if we have any more comments coming in. All right. So we've got the Ferndale finish line. We'll have to put up barricades or no parking signs the day before. We do want to try and have some crowd control of making sure folks are up off the street because we have a wider street there. It's not logistically, it's difficult to get people out of the street, especially when like, why should I when there's so close and there's so many other people in the street? So we got to kind of like use a little bit of judgment with that one. And we will need some cleanup crews, some folks walking around with trash bags and the picker-uppers to help make sure that we don't leave a big mess behind. Let's see here. So, oh, John's making a note. Okay, John's not making notes, so never mind, guys. Then the awards dinner. So we will have the awards dinner at the Ferndale Fairgrounds. If the Ferndale-Leniacs are back this year, they'll be helping coordinate with getting the caterer in and doing the setup. Last year it was lovely because they had that all of the setup from the rink still there. So it was a nice little romantic evening after such a long weekend. So I'm not sure. Again, I'm not sure about the Ferndale-Leniacs. I don't want to assume that they'll be back, but I think they will be back. So we will need some folks to work with the checking wristbands and selling dinner tickets, and we will need some volunteers to help serve the dinners. And I'm really hopeful that volunteers will come from folks other than specifically the Ferndale volunteer, or excuse me, won't come from the main ground pounders, but if it could be possible that that's what's going to happen. Like, I don't know. Sorry, there's a lot of like, I don't know. Could be. Who knows? Maybe. But those are positions that need to be filled. So I'm hopeful that we can get people specifically just to serve dinner. But I'm not sure. And then the cleanup always goes really quickly. Because we've got so many folks who are interested in helping. So the big job of cleanup is directing all of that helpful energy, making sure that we're not, throwing tables, making sure that we're getting things put away the way that they need to and the way that we're asked to take care of it. And then we'll need to, wipe it down, sweep it up, haul the trash. Again, one of the biggest jobs is getting everything out of there, putting the trash on the trailer. Princess Blaze O'Glory has pledged his trailer again this year, and I am very, very grateful to that. So we will have to get the trash out as quickly as possible. And that's the end of the race. Oh my gosh, you guys. We finished the race. It's done. We got it. So I have some notes that I want to come back to. One of the biggest things that's happening this year is panic buttons not here. So Diamond is stepping away for the year, and she may or may not be back next year. And so what I am doing to sort of fill that void, a lot of the infrastructure of having a space to rest and having snacks and having water, a lot of that I'm hoping to be able to absorb into my volunteer coordinator tent. I'm going to have that up with me. I will be at setting up in those places. It may be that the tent is there and I am out coordinating volunteers. I know that it's not always fun to vent about your boss to your boss, so there will be someone that you can connect with. I am a big fan of having an outlet to share frustrations, and I'm a big fan of being able to identify if this is an outlet that's needed because you need a solution, or if it's an outlet you need because you you gotta get it out somehow. So we'll be absorbing some of what Panic Button does. I'll be doing some of what Panic Button does, and I'm looking specifically for someone who can sort of fill that other emotional support gap. So if there's someone that you know of who is interested in doing some work and has that sort of professional capacity for emotional support, then please send them my way. I'm talking to a couple different folks about the possibilities, but I'm still looking for someone to do that. It's kind of like a little bit like camp counselor, kind of a lot like camp counselor. So that's something that's different this year. I'm just going down my list and I've got notes, so this may be a little bit of jumping around. Close course clearing. Our course coordinator will be setting dates for clearing the course, but they'll happen closer to April, ends of April and May. If we do it too early, then it's not effective, but all of that information will come out after we make our decision. So pretty much everything that we come out here with specific dates of things, of preparation, will come out after the board makes the decision. And again, we're waiting until the end of March, which is, we've got about 9 days to the end of March. So we'll be making that decision then. Everything has changed so quickly in such a short amount of time. Just thinking back on this week, I didn't know, like, yeah, sorry, I'm gonna take a water break. So there's a lot that's changing. There's a lot that's changing quickly. So hopefully we'll be in a better position to know what's going on after at that point. So looking at my notes, I'm not looking at the camera. So a couple of things that I want to talk about just culture-wise with volunteers. So I have said this a lot about bribes specifically. In kinetics, and some people may argue differently, but in kinetics, bribes are a way of sharing appreciation. And if you demand a bribe, are you demanding appreciation? Can you demand appreciation? Is it really appreciation if you're demanding it? So in that vein, I want to be clear in saying that I don't want volunteers demanding bribes from people, and we have to be careful and considerate with how we ask for bribes. If you want a bribe from someone, I really hope you have a stash of bribes to give out to people. If you're new and if you're not sure what bribes are, a little background onto this. So kinetics is judged. There are judges of others, and there are specific people who are specifically judged, and everyone is competing for different in different categories. And the category, I believe we have the list of winners of different things. I'm just going to click over onto the Kinetic Grand Championship website. In the homes, I think we have our results and winners out from last year. I'm not entirely certain. It might be under Kinetic Grand Championship. Oh, race results. So we have all of our the results from the years past, which will tell, like, this is where everybody's being judged at. Like, these are the things that are important to us. So because there's judges, there's bribes. Um, and bribes are a way of communicating appreciation. Um, uh, if you're curious what bribes look like in the museum, when the museum is open, at this point, I'm not entirely sure what the museum opens hours are. Take a look at the Facebook page for the Kinetic Museum Eureka for more information there. But I want to be careful. I want to be clear in saying that ground pounders, as ground pounders, we are here to support the race. We are not people who need to be bribed. People bribe us, and that is pleasant and appreciated, but we are not the people that the bribes were built for. We are not the decision makers for the race. We are making the race go. If you want to bribe someone, if you want a bribe, have a bribe to give someone. So those are my notes right now about bribes. I'm just going to come back and look at some of the comments and make sure I'm not missing anything. Okay. So that's bribes. The other thing, partying. Last year I had to ask someone to leave because they showed up to an event to one of our sites under the influence, and under the influence in such a way that was problematic, and was behaving like a fool, because they showed up in such an irresponsible way. I had to ask them to leave. My policy with partying, I understand that some folks will want to make decisions about what they do, but we have a policy. I'm so sorry. I came at this idea with half of my thoughts put together. Let me find this document here, which is so exciting to watch. I do have a code of conduct, and we did use it last year, and I'm not sure where I put it. Okay, John waiver. Nope. Sorry, guys. Such riveting television. Okay. Not in there. Sorry. I thought I could be real cool and like pull it up super quick. Let me just see if I can search it real quick, because I want to make sure that I'd like to be able to pull it up. If I could pull it up. Nope, that's not it. All right. Sorry, guys. I don't have that in front of me, and I didn't gather that one here. But we need to make sure that we're not putting ourselves in danger. We're not putting anyone around us in danger. And I know when people are like, "Oh no, I know what I can do," it's like, but this is not your time to go out and have a rager. If you want to do that, then please turn in your volunteer badge and go experience this as someone who's not part of the organization. I have no problems with asking people to leave if it becomes a problem. I don't want to. It's real tough, and it's no fun for everybody. It's kind of embarrassing to be asked to leave something, and don't want to embarrass anybody. I don't want to be embarrassed. It is not the most exciting way to feel. So I'd rather not. I'd really, really rather not. Um, but we gotta treat this like a job. And if you're someone who's comfortable, you know, using drugs in such a way that it prohibits you from behaving responsibly while you're on the job, then this may not be the organization for you. So, excuse me, sorry guys, I'm gonna itch my nose. Riveting television. All right, more hand sanitizer. Okay, so that's kind of my big stance there. Now, oh gosh, sorry, the alcohol fumes from the hand sanitizer are not my ideal way of partying. So that's what's going on with the race. So that's the race there. Right now, we're really, really not sure of what's happening. And it's a really stressful time for a whole lot of people. Those who, with the shelter in place here, that means that some people are out of a job. That means that some people still have to go to work and have to change how they're working. It means that we may not always be able to rely on seeing our friends and family to help us get through a stressful time. We can't go out and see those people who we might rely on to help us process when things are stressful or significantly changed or uncertain. So it's for me personally, and maybe it's true for other folks too, it's important for me to focus on the work that I can do. And I can look to the future with hope that this is the future that we'll be in. But I also have to be pragmatic and be realistic that we may not get here. We may not get here this year. But I have to be hopeful that the drastic measures that we're taking place now will help make it so that we can exist in this future. Just personally, I was talking to my mom about the shelter in place when the order came down. I spoke with her and she said, oh, well, maybe it's just a little bit overblown. Maybe it's too much, or maybe it's kind of a headache. The way that she said it, I was like, oh, it's kind of a headache. I'm like, yeah, it is. But here's hoping that it will just be that. I really hope it's just an inconvenience, because if it's just an inconvenience, then everything that we're doing right now will have done its job. I hope it's just really boring for a little while. So that's I really hope it's really boring for a while. And again, if you are someone who's been affected, not affected, if you're someone who isn't sure what kind of resources are available to them, just me personally, just because of the work that I do in an HR capacity, I may have some information that you can go to if you have a boss, that you can go to your boss with, like, asking about some of these different things. There for employers, there are some different webinars I found from the California Employers Association. It's from the employer's standpoint, it's there's some different webinars about the new emergency FMLA and the emergency sick leave that's coming through. So if you aren't sure if you are an employer, if you know people who are employers who can use this information, they're free webinars. I highly recommend them. Employers.org to find those out there. I was able to get a lot of good information that I'm taking back to my work. So if you have questions about things, I might be able to help you just in my capacity as what I do for a living. But as the volunteer coordinator, I hope to see you all this year. But before I forget, Jeno asked me to ask everybody, what are your, if you're getting personalized badges, she's got a posting on the Facebook group. If you aren't, because I'm hoping to send this video out. I really don't want to watch the video, but I'm hoping to send this video out on the email and do a write-up of what we've discussed here a little bit later today, this evening, tomorrow morning. So get your badge information to Jeno. Yeah, I think that's it. So stay safe. Stay away from people. If you can, I know a bunch of different places are making it a little bit easier to go out there and some different ways of supporting. I know Co-op is has a policy of limiting the number of people in their stores and limiting the hours for when people can shop. Different places are delivering medications. So, all right, guys. I hope to see you all out there. I hope that we, don't get sunburnt, but I hope to see everyone at the finish line, and I hope that this is going to be a good year. So, on that note, for the glory. Okay, bye.